What are you guys gonna do today?
Hello and welcome. Sorry, episode 277. That's a lot of Sutton Impact
Yeah,
Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and let's start off talking about baseball and money.
There's a lot of it.
A lot of it. And so Mr. Soto turns down 15 years, $440 million. And and when you look into it, the reason I think he turns it down is because on the average of that deal, he would still be like eighth or ninth highest paid player. And I think it wouldn't have him over the $30 million a year threshold on the average.
On the average.
So, yeah, so it doesn't have him where he wants to be. So, interesting. You had put together an unbelievable package to get him because they still have him for 2 years. But if you're Washington, the clock's ticking. So, do you make him? Do you go back and make it less years for the same amount of money and put his average up there and keep him, or do you sell him? And then based upon whatever he gets, what does Otani get? And you and I were talking offline. If he gets $500 million, is Otani worth $600 million? You could argue that he absolutely would be.
Yeah. Not just for his on that
we have Mike Trout, Otani, and Rendon, three guys over $1 billion in owed salary obligations. And that just boggles my mind.
Especially for a team that never seems to win.
And is somehow this year, and I was very optimistic, they just lost 13 games. They've lost 13 games in a row where Otani hasn't been the pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, that really shows his value to that team.
That franchise is just bizarre. Because again, I don't know.
It's like star-crossed.
Yeah.
It's like cursed.
They seem like that restaurant in every town that's in that spot that, it's not going to last. It's not going to work. And nobody knows why. Because again, it seems like they have talented players. They seem to sign free agent pitchers. And, every season it's like, well, it looks like they address their weaknesses. And
they won a World Series in this century. But I don't know. I just don't get it.
Yeah. And I guess we can transition to, as long as we're talking about money. Kyler Murray got paid. Less than Deshaun Watson.
Paid, which means Lamar Jackson's going to get paid.
Yeah. And Kyler Murray got less guaranteed than Deshaun Watson, which is always going to be, like I said, I feel like Cleveland really poison-pilled the entire league with that contract.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And Cleveland, since the salary this year is $1 million, I mean, they actually plotted it.
Yeah.
It just, makes me think even less of that franchise. And I don't like that franchise to begin with.
No, and I understand if you're signing, what you feel is your franchise quarterback, like you assume he's going to be there for the full 5 years of the contract. So giving him 5 years guaranteed, of all the positions in football, seemingly makes the most sense. Right?
Sure, yeah.
But, then it becomes, though, like you said, with the, football has the hard cap. And, you could be like, well, if, the rapist or alleged sexual assaultist got $230 million guaranteed, and Kyler Murray, who gets hurt every year and fades in the playoffs and is under 500 for the last 8 games of every season he played in, and seemingly is pretty childish, gets 230 with 180 guaranteed. If I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm a league MVP. Again, I know right now how to discuss this because Deshaun Watson was everybody's hero as far as a off the field guy, so it's hard to say good guy and know what you're saying. But Lamar Jackson seemingly also a great guy on and off the field. I want more than both those guys.
Yeah.
And I want 5 years guaranteed.
Well, I definitely think they overpaid for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have an alternative. I mean, that was your quarterback. You don't have a system. You don't have a backup. You don't have the number 2. You don't have Trey Lance waiting to play.
No, I thought if I was the Cardinals, we've been around their fans in person. They've got a pretty decent fan base down there. They're an NFL team. They got some exciting players. Like, based on a lot of the off-the-field stuff with Kyler Murray, where he seems like he's, always unhappy, kind of grumbly. He seems like he's very affected by his 5'9" height on the field. And the fact that he seems to get worse start out on fire and then get worse every single year. And I know that gets blamed on Kingsbury and the offense and injuries and yada, yada, yada. But if I could have traded him for a couple of first round picks, I think I probably would have.
Oh, I would have for sure.
Because again, we'll see what happens with our favorite team who just drafted a quarterback in the first round. But I sort of look at, the next decade of football. I need a guy that I feel like, whether it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, this giant list of young under 30 quarterbacks. Like, if I'm not feeling confident that my guy is as good as them, I'm not paying my guy.
Sure.
And from time to time, I'll do like the 49ers and I'll throw all my chips in the middle and I'll go after a top 3 pick and try to land that. But I feel like, it's kind of the most important position in all of sports, at least all of team sports.
Oh, it is. There's no question.
The hardest to find. And inevitably, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, that means you're going to be 2 or 3, playoff caliber teams. You're going to need a quarterback that can make, the difference.
Well, I just think it's going to be interesting to find out. If I'm the 49ers, I'm keeping Jimmy G.
Yeah, I've seen some insane stuff where people...
somebody gets hurt. And then I know I'm not going to get total value for him.
Right.
But I'll end up getting a better deal than I would right now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if he stays on the roster this year, I know it's $25 million, which is a lot of money, and that seems to be, the sticking point. Mm-hmm. But if I keep him on the roster and I lose him in free agency, the odds of him not becoming a future third-round pick to the compensatory draft system, or at least helping that math where you're getting a pretty high pick, because it doesn't sound like you can get that, So it sort of becomes, what is your organization view of a pick like that for, Yeah,
and he's your, he's your backup in case Trey Lance doesn't work out.
And it doesn't sound...
You still are competitive to try and win your division and get in the playoffs.
No, I guess the only way we're not inside the 49er locker room, obviously. And Jimmy G seems like he's a pretty beloved teammate no matter where he goes. And
he wins.
And he wins. And we haven't seen what Trey Lance has been able to do on the field. Like, if he comes in as a house of fire, then, as we've seen with, quarterbacks in the past, like Roethlisberger, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, like, if you get in there and you win, your teammates will rally behind you. But if he struggles and you got a guy like Jimmy G there, does that upset your locker room? Like, again, Jimmy G sounds like he's not the kind of guy that goes and causes trouble. But if I'm Fred Warner and I'm some of these guys on defense and I'm Debo and I think my team is a Super Bowl caliber team and Trey Lance struggles and Jimmy G's in that locker room, that might be a really,
Yeah.
That'd be the only reason I would get rid of him, I guess, is what I would say. Unless I got a really good offer, which I don't think I'm going to get.
Well, I've got my prediction where I think he's going to end up.
Where's that?
Miami.
Oh, so you're not Tua? No Tua?
I don't think Tua's going to make it. And I think they've got too much invested in everything else not to have a good quarterback. And I can see Jimmy G going in there fitting in seamlessly.
Yeah, I know people keep like Seattle. I mean, even if he was a free agent, I think Seattle likes I think Seattle likes the quarterbacks in next year's class, which is supposed to be a really good class with like 5 potential first round players. And I think they're
not going. Seattle's not going to trade for him, and 49ers wouldn't send him to it.
No, and I don't think they would. I don't think that Seattle would sign him as. I think they're fine with. I don't think they want to win. I mean, there's talk that they might trade. That they might even trade Metcalf, which he's a 24-year-old wide receiver. You're gonna have a rookie quarterback next year. You'd think you'd want a guy like DK Metcalf, but who knows?
Yeah.
But
I mean, now we're at that point in time where all these guys you think you could move have to fit into the salary.
Yeah.
And so that makes it hard.
Well, I'm sure teams would find a way to get DK Metcalf under their salary cap. I mean, he's a game.
Oh, I'm sure you would too.
And I guess if you're Seattle and you're in a rebuild, you could commit, your $90 million to DK Metcalf and have a nice weapon for your rookie. Or you could probably get 2 first-round picks and take a couple of bites of the apple at it, and
Yeah.
Because you look at what Minnesota did, where you traded away Stephon Diggs, and with the pick you got for him, you drafted Justin Jefferson, who seems like he might be better than Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs is an all-pro player. I mean,
It's interesting how it all works out.
Yeah.
Well, let's look back at a couple things that happened this week. Home run derby.
Yeah.
J-Rod for Seattle looks amazing for 21, 22 years old. And I was really pulling for him to win. He was such an underdog. And for him to finish second was just unbelievable. So it was enough unbelievable to make me watch a Mariners game yesterday, but they lost. But he didn't play, so I didn't get to see him.
No, that's kind of a
But
bummer.
I thought he is a real. He and Soto battled it out. It was good. Pete Alonso just didn't have it. But as I watched this, the difference to me was the consistency of the batting practice pitcher.
Yeah.
And the guy that pitched to Soto, I swear 90% of the pitches he threw were in the same exact spot.
Yeah.
And he was the most consistent out of all of them. And I think I can see a bunch of people trying to hire that guy for next year to be the batting practice pitcher for the home run derby. Because he was unbelievable.
Well, you figure when you're in that level, like if you're the hitter, you know exactly what you need to do, what you need to, and all that. So it's really a matter of like, am I getting the ball exactly where I want it? Might be like you said, that's the difference.
I thought it was interesting to have the mini controversy. Did Cal Schwarber tank so Albert Pujols could win?
Well,
I thought that was
Pujols,
kind of interesting.
yeah,
And, you would have thought Cal Schwarber would have performed much, much, much better. He lost to Albert Pujols in the first round.
yeah. I mean,
He didn't hit 12 home runs. So, say what you want to say. But it was interesting. And if he did, good for him.
yeah. I was like, I don't mind it if he did. It's not like this
No,
matters, you know. And
I don't
Albert
mind if he
Pujols
did it.
gets a nice moment on the way out. It's one of those like, it's kind of nice. I kind of like it.
Well, my other story is since I'm going to play St. Andrews at the end of the month,
Yeah.
at the end of August, I watched the whole British Open and I watched Cameron Smith from Australia roar back and pass everybody on the final day to win. And he was just incredible. I mean, his putter was on fire. And he's really a good golfer.
Yeah.
And he got a nice mullet. He said he thought about getting rid of the mullet, but it's really his identity now, so he's got to keep it. And he played really well. And, they asked him, they were interviewing him at the end. He goes, "Were you going to celebrate tonight?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to see how many beers fit in the claret jug." And I mean, he's like refreshing. He's like, what you're looking for. He's like, he's an everyman.
That's how he's been described.
As an everyman.
Yeah, people are like, he's every Australian you've ever met, or he's like, go to any, playground, touch football game, basketball game, in most spots around the world, and there's a guy that looks like him. So, but can he win again?
Yeah.
Because again, you had the mullet.
He's won 2 majors this year, so
Yeah, and you throw in the mullet, gives him a nice,
yeah,
calling card.
yeah. So he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. Jakob is going to fill in our foursome when we're in Scotland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so he's going to come play 4 days with us. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And he can be my coach while I'm there to keep me out of trouble.
Yes. Yes, he is quite good at golf.
He's very good.
And just a good
And
dude.
he's a fun guy to be around.
Yeah. I know you kind of listen, so hello, Jakob.
Yes, I do listen to Jakob. He's simply, he can make things sound simple.
Which is excellent.
Yeah.
And I guess we can have our Steeler moment real quick.
Okay.
I guess this is, I don't think you listen to our podcast, but Ben Roethlisberger, please just,
Go away.
just go away. Be quiet. Don't whine about how you were forced out when they gave you an extra contract you didn't deserve. Don't whine about how you didn't get enough recognition for the throw in the Super Bowl. Like, you're a Hall of Fame player. You're beloved in Pittsburgh. And you overcame being a jerk as a young player, a lot of off the field stuff to become beloved again. Just accept it. That's sad. It's very sad.
Well, Friday night in Pittsburgh, they're having a promotion called Yinzer Palooza.
Uh-huh.
And it's all things that are Pittsburgh at the Pirate game. And Roethlisberger's throwing out the first pitch.
Yeah.
So he'll get plenty of love that night.
But then he'll come off and he'll talk to Missy or whoever the sideline reporter is, and he'll be like, "I did pretty good throwing the ball, but I've been playing hurt. I think I have a broken toe and 4 broken ribs, but I still got the ball over the plate."
Well, I'm more intrigued by your point that you made to me offline about the over-under on the Steelers.
Yes. Obviously, we're a very pro-Steeler podcast, and this is me definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, but I'm looking at a team that, over the last 4 years has had, old Ben Roethlisberger who can't move and only plays in the shotgun, either Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph. And they've won, I think, an average of 10 games a season. I think the offensive line is going to be better. I think there's going to be more movement. I think George Pickens and Calvin Austin are probably better 3-4 wide receivers than we've had in a couple of years. And I think the defense is good. And everybody on the defense is happy and paid. And Cam Hayward is angry. I think they're going to win over 8 games again.
Yeah, and you convinced me. So when I'm in Phoenix next month, I'm going to go to the sports book, and I'm going to plunk down 100 that the Steelers beat the over.
And they're getting a lot of, whether it's Lance Reddick or Lewis Reddick, not Lance Reddick, he's the actor, Lewis Reddick. A lot of this is going to be Tomlin's first losing season. I don't think people understand how limited they were with Roethlisberger.
I agree.
I don't like Mason Rudolph, but
they won despite Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not obviously a very vocal non-Mason Rudolph guy, but I've thought the last couple of years they would have been better with him in there because he can throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field.
And I'm curious what happens to Mason.
Yeah, I see the mistake. Like Mark Madden and a few of those guys are right, and they're going to start Pickett at number 3, and it's like I agree with Cowher, who pretty good coach. Get it down to it. Figure out who your 2 guys are and let them battle. You don't have enough reps, and if you're going to be good, if you're trying to win some games, which it seems like the Steelers are based on all their moves, you don't have time to. If you drafted Kenny Pickett, you don't need. He shouldn't need the motivation to go from number 3 to number 1.
I agree.
I know people like to think all these outside, locker room bullet board material, but you drafted a 24-year-old rookie quarterback who's a 5th-year senior, a very mature guy, who obviously loves football. He doesn't need to beat Mason Rudolph and then climb some ladder to justify it. Just put him in the number 2 spot and let him win the job or lose the job from there.
Well, I think they're going to I think they'll probably start in game 1, Mason.
Yeah.
And showcase him and just start getting the talk. Everybody knows. You'd be crazy to trade for him because they're not going to keep him.
And again, you could potentially have Jimmy G, who I'd much rather have over Mason. So,
although there's at least $20 million difference between the two.
It's true, yeah. But again, he seems like, a guy that could be your second or third quarterback from time to time. But I wouldn't.
You're not going to pick up Jimmy G to be a backup, but you pick up Mason Rudolph to be a backup.
I think just because he has some sort of connection with Dallas. If Dallas offered a conditional 6 or 7, but people have said from the beginning, you'd be lucky to get a conditional 7th round pick for Mason Rudolph. So, if you're the Steelers, you'd almost be doing him a favor, let him get out there and go, find his own place, let him try to compete from there if he's not going to compete for you.
Yeah, I think you should just let him, give him a chance to go find a job somewhere.
Yeah, you obviously like him enough. Yeah,
Seattle.
You can go with Seattle, yeah. Well, it's pretty much all the sports for the week, I think, right?
Hadn't been much. National League lost the All-Star game for the 9th straight year. 3-2. I didn't watch it. And this is 2 consecutive years I have not watched an inning of the All-Star game.
Yeah. And again,
I did like the uniforms in the All-Star game, even though a lot of people are panning them.
Yeah.
I like them. I like the gold lettering. I thought the gold lettering set them off and made them look pretty good.
I did too. I sort of thought the gold lettering, if for an All-Star game, I think gold lettering is cool.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate. What else? Oh, I'll start off on entertainment. I watched on Paramount Plus, which I guess is part of Apple TV, right?
No, Paramount Plus is its own separate because that's CBS.
It's its own separate thing.
Yeah.
Okay. But I get there through my Apple TV. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because Apple TV is very of all the services, I think they do the. I subscribe to Apple TV Plus because there's things on there I want to watch, but they make it feel like you've got more than you've got on the front page.
So anyhow, I watched The Day the Music Died. It's a documentary on Don McLean and the writing and producing of American Pie, and it's incredible. I've always loved that song. It's 50 years old this year. The number of artists that recorded it, it's an incredible number. And there was a really cool section on it that, when Garth Brooks before he was Garth Brooks, when he was the cleanup guy at Wet Willie's on the Strip in Stillwater, and they showed that, which was kind of cool. They showed some clips of that, and they showed Stillwater. And Garth Brooks used to end his set as the cleanup guy with American Pie. So, he talked about how important the song is and how he thinks it's one of the greatest songs ever written, if not the greatest song ever written. And he performed in Central Park, and they showed clips of that concert, which was, I could not, in 1997, I could not believe how many people were in Central Park.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And then he brought Don McLean out to close the show and sing Bye Bye American Pie with him. It was really cool. So there's a lot of really interesting things that were in the show about the song, about the people that died, the Big Bopper, Richie Valens, and Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
And did a whole story on the surf ballroom and everything. And it was really, really well done. So if you like music, you owe it to yourself to watch this. It's about an hour and a half, and it's just really, really well done.
Nice. Well, I continued watching What We Do in the Shadows new season, which is awesome again. If you like that show, you're just going to, it's more of it, but it's still fantastic. But I did watch all of Under the Banner of Heaven, which is an FX show available on Hulu for anyone that wants to know. And it has Rory Culkin, the young, what's his name? Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell's son, Wyatt Russell, Andrew Garfield. It's got a really good cast, and it's basically about, there's a crime in Utah on a Mormon ranch. And you learn a lot about, it's a lot about religion and fanaticalism and, the motivations. And it's, it's a pretty compelling case, too, as you watch it all through. I think it's like 7 hours. It's like 7 episodes. But some really nice performances. And I assume if you're Mormon, I don't know if we have any Mormon listeners, it might be a tough watch. So,
Okay.
As it's not very positive on the history of the Mormon church or the current Mormon church. But it provides some, interesting, looks at, I think one of the themes that, I think we're dealing with every day in this country is just, if this is wrong, then it shatters your whole world.
Yeah.
And people's inability, that people would rather just continue believing the lie than face the harsh truth. And how that holds.
I read a column today in the paper that 42% of Americans no longer watch the news.
Yeah.
It's called news avoidance.
Well, I mean, I think you get the people that never watched it. And then I think, you have all our, liberal arts and communication majors that learn that, basically 6 corporations own all the news. and you just look at some of the hypocrisy and the BS, and you don't know, it's hard to find anywhere to watch, and get any sort of perspective.
I've stopped watching, so.
Yeah.
It's just too polarizing, and I think it depresses me, so I don't watch it.
And again, I recently did rewatch, a classic film, All the President's Men,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you've never seen that movie, it's just an absolutely insanely good movie.
Yes, it is.
And you just look at, as they're breaking the Watergate story, and you look at what you thought journalism was, and you get a little bit of this in season 5 of The Wire, and it's really all over a lot of, fictional or fictionalized media today, but you just see that, what is and what isn't media and real media, but it just, you want journalism to be what that movie is.
Yes.
And
unfortunately.
And it feels like maybe that was one of the last times in history where there was that kind of journal. And not to say you don't break stories, but you're breaking different kinds of stories now. You're not getting to that level anymore, I don't think.
No.
I mean, you look what's going on in the news right now. We won't discuss it, but I mean, you look at all the information you're not getting, and it's sort of like, oh, great. This is pointless. Did I?
See, I finished Dark Winds, and I'm already looking forward to season 2 next year. And I finished The Old Man. I thought both of those were really, really well done. So those are both gone. And
you guys are still on?
I'm a late adapter, but Sharon and I are watching Stranger Things. We're finishing up season 2. And we've enjoyed it. I don't know why I waited so long to watch it.
And if you're a Stranger Things fan and you're looking for a rewatch, the Russo brothers are re-editing and taking certain scenes out of the show that they feel are inconsistent with the narratives that they're trying to purport in the future. And I actually listened to
Brothers?
the Russo brothers.
I thought it was the Duffner brothers.
Oh, Duffner. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, Duffner. Russo is Marvel. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's weird. I've been actually listening to an episode. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast. It's the three guys that star, write, and created that show.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're a comedy, so they don't care from time to time, but they'll occasionally point out where they're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense based on where we went with the show in the future. As far as like, we laid out this fact of,
Sure.
So. But it'll be interesting, to see how they try to rework the show and try to make
food.
I wish I had food.
I'm going to 2 new restaurants next week in New York that I've never been to.
Oh.
So I will be able to talk about those next week. One is called Norma, and it's a Sicilian restaurant. And one is called Max. And it looks Italian as well. Somebody's taking us there. And it's in Tribeca, I think. And I've never been to that part of New York City. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, it's been a pretty boring food consuming day. I just had my food weeks. I'm back working overnights on the TV show, so,
So I don't have food for you.
No, because this is the first time. Well, this is more of an off-the-air thing, but since I started, I'll just give a quick explanation. But normally I either work in the production office or on the set. But I'm doing some post-production stuff, so I'm in an office building in downtown New Orleans, and I'm my only person in the building. So
Yeah.
I get a food per diem, but I don't have access to craft services or catering or any of the cool stuff.
Well, what street is your office on?
I'm on O'Keefe and Gravier, or Gravier. I probably pronounce it wrong, like I pronounce everything wrong in the city. But yeah.
Yeah. Not sure where that one is.
It's pretty much right, it's right in the middle of downtown, so it's kind of nice. I'm pretty close to the Smoothie King Center, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd be close to Mothers and Walk-Ons and all that.
I'm very close to the downtown walk-ons. I know that's like 2 blocks over.
Yeah. And then Mothers would be 4 blocks down from there.
And then the other benefit that I'm sure people listening, you can probably turn off right now, we're just rambling at the end, but I get a parking garage access 24/7, 7 days a week. So
There you go.
now all of a sudden, if I wanted to go down there for any reason, it takes a lot of that burden off of,
Trying to find a place to park
Yeah.
in New Orleans, which is not easy.
which is not easy. No, it's not a driving city when you come visit.
No. All right, everybody, well, have a great week. Another slow week. We'll be talking more and more football as we move along.
And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. We're getting close. Training camp is open.
All right. Talk to you soon.